Podcast with Brad, Jim, and Will. What have they been watching lately? They're husky, hairy, huggable homos. Movie Bears Podcast.
Hello all and welcome to the Movie Bears Podcast. I'm Bradley Harris. And along with some of my favorite husky, hairy, huggable homos and friends, we review movies, either current or classic on this show. But sometimes, just a little bit of TV slips in. And that's what's happening this episode. We're going to be reviewing The Black Phone 2, which of course is a film. But we're also going to be discussing it. Welcome to Derry. We've seen the first 2 episodes. We have some thoughts. I'm sure y'all have some thoughts too. But before we get into all that, I'm going to introduce my co-hosts. We're going to banter a little bit. We're going to catch up because it's been a hot minute. But let me introduce you to Jim Pugliafrico, who is 20 feet down the hallway, but always close in my heart. Hi, babe. How are you?
Hello. Hi. And so is my cat, Poe, as you can probably hear. Yeah, I'm here. I'm ready to go talk about movies again. Let's do it.
All right. Excellent. And William Lindis is here as well, coming at us from Austin. Hey, Will, how are you?
Doing great. I feel like whenever I'm with the two of you, I could absolutely positively float. And hopefully you guys feel that you'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too.
It tracks. Well, totally. So glad that you are here. Well, we have a lot to talk about on this episode, but I want to kick things off with a bit of an announcement. After 13, 14 years of doing the Movie Bears podcast, we have made the very difficult decision to keep doing the show, at least for now, but in a new way, because after a few weeks of negotiations and travel back and forth and nailing down all the things, Jim and I are officially moving to Austin, Texas as of November 24th, which means we, maybe not every time we record, but we have the opportunity to record with Will in person at Will, if you will, which is very exciting. And even better than that, Will, we get to see you and Scott and the doggos anytime we want, because we're going to live like 25 minutes away.
Yeah.
Super exciting.
Yeah, like it won't... A lot of the time when we see each other in person, it's at South by Southwest, which is great. We enjoy that. But it's this big festival experience where we're rushing and going to theater after theater after theater. And we don't get a lot of chance to just sort of like hang out and just sort of like be friends in a way that's not like driven by which screening we're going to next. So I like the fact that, you know, even just this last couple of weeks, as you guys were scouting a few things and sort of looking, you know, had a chance just to have some normal sit down dinners, watch some TV together. And I'm looking forward to that so much. My dogs are looking so much forward to having some Uncle Bradley and Uncle Jim time as you come over and give them tummy scratches. And yeah, it means that we've got some options for how we do our show.
Indeed. We're pumped. Jim is very stoic-faced. I think because we
guys, I'm
have
having
so many
audio problems, so
logistics.
I'm sorry if I'm having trouble keeping up. My audio's really a mess tonight, and I'll deal with it. I can hear you, but like it's like
no worries.
it slows way down like this, and then it speeds up like this, so Jim, I can catch up.
Okay, let's pause. Why don't you drop and come back? And let's see if that works. And we'll just ramble and then rewind when you come back. All right. It's all good.
You know what's kind of exciting, Brad, is that when we are all in the same area, connecting conceivably over the same internet, the same, you know, maybe different screens so we can each see our faces, but sharing a mic setup, whatever it is that we end up doing. It's going to be sort of all or nothing on our like on tech issues. Like if internet's down, we'll just say, okay, internet's down, so we'll reschedule. If it's not, then it's like, great, all three of us are good to go. So that's going to be kind of nice too.
Yeah, for sure. And the nice thing is we can always just record locally if we have to and then put it up. So, all right, welcome back, babe. Is that any better? Is the audio still being janky for you?
We'll see as it goes. Right now, it seems okay, but we'll see as it goes. It's the only way. The only way to tell is let it ride and see how it rolls.
All right, sounds good. Yeah. All right. Well, babe, if you want to back up to just after we'll talk a little bit about stuff, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it at around 5 minutes.
Yeah. So, babe, do you want to jump in with your thoughts on moving to Austin and being able to do the show with Will?
Oh yeah, it's going to be exciting. We'll see if we are able to get together in person in one room, at least sometimes. You know, I don't know if it's too early to tell how it's going to go, you know, on a regular basis till we get settled and everything. But hopefully we can do that at least a couple times, because I'm excited for the prospect of doing that. Like doing it face to face is, you know, in the same room, like in the real world, is different than face to face through monitors and cameras and microphones. You know, so I think it'll be a different vibe and a cool vibe. So that's what I'm hoping for.
For sure. We have a lot of logistics to figure out. We've never done much recording in person, at least in terms of our live streams. So we'll have to kind of work through some of the functions of that, but I'm sure we'll experiment and get it down.
It'll be a different tech experiment for sure.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. Well, we've got some folks who are hanging out with us in the live chat. Hello. Good to see you. We've got a couple comments.
Hey, everybody.
Coming in. We've got one about the Black Phone too, but I'm going to save that until we officially get into our movie conversation. But please don't think we're ignoring your comment. We see it. We want it to land very topically once we get there. But that said, Jim, Will, we do want to talk about the Black Phone too. Are y'all ready to get this thing going?
Yeah.
Ring, ring.
Hello?
Are you ready to review the Black Phone 2?
Who is this?
It's a spoiler from 15 minutes in the future.
Oh my god, I don't know.
Spoilers!
Oh, no. Click. We just hung up on spoilers from 15 minutes in the future, but you now know that they're coming in 15 minutes. So be aware that that's going to happen, but we'll be happy to give you some of our spoiler-free thoughts for the first 15 minutes or so before we politely remind you and ask you to step away if you need to. So all of that dramaticness performed for you masterfully, we hope. Here we go. Our discussion of the Black Phone 2. All right, Jim, you are the one who put the first movie, The Black Phone, on my radar. Will, I know you had already known about it. And I was like, really? We're going to see a movie about a telephone? What the fuck? But we loved that movie. It was a great film. And of course, now the sequel is out. But Jim, just in case there's anyone who, you know, is maybe like seen snippets of trailers, maybe they're kind of aware of it, but they don't really know what these Black Phone movies are about. What's the setup for this second one? And spoiler free, of course. What did you think about it?
Yeah, so the Black Phone 2 is the second movie in this Black Phoneverse. And it came out just this past month, and it follows up on the 2021 movie, The Black Phone, which Brad mentioned that we really, really dug. It was a great movie. I'm not going to recap too much, but there may be some mild spoilers in the description for Black Phone 2 that kind of reveal things about Black Phone 1. But this one is directed by Scott Derrickson, as the first one was. And he's also a co-writer in this. So stars Ethan Hawke, Mason Thames, Madeline McGraw. So in this movie, Finn, the young subject of the first movie, Black Phone, he's now 17. and he struggles with his life after his captivity in the first movie. And now his sister begins receiving calls in her dreams from the black phone and seeing disturbing visions of 3 boys being stalked in a winter camp known as Alpine Lake. Yeah, so this movie, it picks up several years after the end of Black Phone. Ethan Hawke plays a deranged abductor of children, let's say, that they nicknamed the Grabber, and he comes around and he's abducting and murdering children. So he starts to haunt. He abducted Finn. Finn escaped. That's the spoiler for the first movie, and we thought we were done with the Grabber, but he starts coming back in this movie, and he's coming back primarily to Finn's sister now. And the sister is, her name is Gwen. Is that her name? I think her name is Gwen in this movie. Yeah, the Grabber is haunting the visions of Gwen. So yeah, I didn't get a chance to see this one. Will did at Fantastic Fest this past month at the festival. So I had to see it when we got home after a couple of weeks. But it did live up to the hype for me. I really dug it. I liked the switch of perspectives from Finn instead of focusing on the same kid. Now, yes, he's in this movie, but it's his sister, so it's kind of switched to her, and we learn a little bit more about the Grabber and maybe some of his more disturbing past. And this one's a good as far as horror movies go. I think this was a perfect Halloween horror movie to see. Anybody who knows me in horror movies knows that I like to see kids in peril. That's one of my makes me feel good to see kids in peril. As a matter of fact, what's really funny is that Fantastic Fest, when they put out their list of movies, they put them into categories, right? And those categories can be anything from slasher to terror and one of the categories is kids in peril. So that those are the movies that I'm going to be looking forward to seeing. And this one was really good. So I liked it a lot. Willing to hear what you guys have to say.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing kind of the setup of this one and, of course, your initial thoughts. Let's head on over to Will. Will, kind of adding a layer on top of this, as Jim mentioned, you got to see this at Fantastic Fest. Yeah. So tell us a little bit, of course, what you thought of the film, but what was the experience like seeing it at the festival?
Absolutely. So, first of all, the Black Phone, the first film that I liked, adaptation of the Joe Hill short story, directed by Scott Derrickson, adapted for screen by C. Robert Cargill. Cargill and Derrickson are a hell of a team. They also did Sinister. They work really well together. They also did that with Ethan Hawke. I liked it a lot, but there were a couple of things that kind of were holding it back from being just sort of a thing that I absolutely adored and loved. And I think Black Phone 2 veered into what I even wanted even more out of this and made for what I feel like is the start for what could be a damn good franchise. In fact, we don't often see horror movies that are this good, both kind of film 1 and film 2 out of the gate. That's pretty rare, pretty exciting. I did see this at Fantastic Fest. We had a very full theater. A lot of good buzz, a lot of good energy in the air, but it's always hard because you don't know how much of your enjoyment in a film comes from just the electricity in the crowd. And C. Robert Cargill is a kind of a local Austinite and a part of the Fantastic Fest alumni and crowd. So there's always going to be a little bit of additional pump and excitement for him. So I went and saw it a second time with my family outside of the festival. 1, because I liked it. 2, because they wanted to see it. And 3, because I wanted to see how it sort of stands up outside of that environment. And it stands up just as well, if not even better on a rewatch. This movie, I love it when a film or a franchise takes a premise and explores it thoroughly, like basically leaving no meat on the bones, right? And I feel like we get that here. We get a further exploration of the phone. We get a further exploration of what's going on with the 2 leads, both the fallout from what happened in the first film, as well as some of their connectivity with the psychic comings and goings that they experienced in the first film, whether it be through the phone or through visions or what have you. But also expanding the lore and expanding the mythos in a way that doesn't feel like people reading narration to us, which is unfortunately a problem with a lot of like horror films when they do try to do lore drops. This accomplishes everything that I wanted it to do. I think this is a fun movie. It's a spooky movie. It's a heartfelt movie. I gave a shit about these characters. I gave a shit about the kids that were in peril. I loved the change in setting, which we'll talk about here in a moment. And I loved the fact that all of the characters felt like they needed to exist in this world and they weren't just like filler for body count type stuff, right? Black Phone 2 is the goods. I feel like this is a solid watch, not just for spooky season. We're technically beyond spooky season, but if you're like me, you know, spooky season is 365 days a year. So I would definitely put this on your to watch list. Black Phone 2 was fun, engaging, hit me in the feels. It excited me as a horror fan. It did everything I needed it to do.
All right. Well, so cool that you got to see that at Fantastic Fest. And, you know, now that we're going to become Austinites, we'll definitely be working hard to get into the festival next year. Maybe Black Phone 3 will be there in a couple years and we can all see it together.
Heck yeah.
Because you know, they're got to make another one. These movies are amazing.
And if they do, it'll play at the fest because of those
you
same
know it.
connections. So heck yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, for me, y'all said a lot of, you know, what I was already thinking about this film. I think it takes all the things that I loved about the first one and amplifies them by like 5 or 6, but not 11. And I think that's good because I think sometimes what sequels do is they jack that stuff up too far. They go, you know, way too far in the wrong, you know, over direction, and it just, I don't know, it impacts the experience for me. So it elevated it rather than tanked it, which I think is a really good thing. I also wanted to say, Mason Thames is Finney Blake. Having just seen Mason in the live action How to Train Your Dragon back in June. By the way, he was amazing as a live action Hiccup. He was great. But it took me a couple minutes at the beginning of this movie to get Hiccup
out
Mason
of your mind,
out of my mind, right? Like at one point he's like, I don't know, I don't think this is a spoiler, but he's like smoking something outside his house in the dark, and I'm waiting for Toothless's head just to like come out of the blackness and be like, ooh. But this was a very different movie. Other things came out of the dark and they were wonderful. I know there's a lot of debate as to whether Ethan Hawke was actually in this film because just reasons, but whether he was in it physically, whether it was just voice acting, I don't know. It's so funny that the Before Sunset, Before Midnight, you know, actor, that was really my introduction to his films, and I've loved him in other things since. But it's so crazy to go from that to this. And he, I don't know, something about his voice and the way you just like it scares the crap out of me. Like, these kinds of movies don't typically scare me, but it gives me chills every time he talks. I think it's most menacing when he's kind of like quiet and like forlorn and contemplative, which is weird to hear about a villain in a horror movie, but we'll talk about reasons why that may be a thing. But I also really liked Jeremy Davies in this as the dad. Jeremy Davies
Oh yeah.
was very famously on Lost. He played Daniel Faraday, the scientist that, like, shows up on the island. Spoilers for 30-year-old Lost TV show, I guess. But he's great, and I really appreciated. Will, you were talking about like some of that like hit you in the feels stuff, and I think Jeremy Davies brought a lot of that for me. Also, like, horror movies don't typically make me cry. I never think that's going to happen. I was ugly sobbing at the end of this one. Y'all probably know why, and I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point. But man, to have a horror movie do that was really something special for me. So this is absolutely a big win. It's still in theaters. I just checked. You can still go see this right now. Absolutely, it's not spooky season anymore, but we're kind of in that period where it's like, you know, playing catch up on your horror movies. Now's the time to do it. So I just wanted to shout out real quick. We do have some comments again in the chat. Game Freakness says, I actually liked the movie The Black Phone too, but then the next thing that is said is maybe kind of a spoiler. I don't know. Should we save it? Possibly.
Save that for spoilers. Yeah.
Okay. But also mentions that the behind the scenes is interesting as well. Yeah, certainly. We've seen some cool stuff on YouTube and some interviews talking about kind of how this movie was made and how fucking grueling it was for the cast and crew. And Jesus Christ, I mean, you see it in the trailer, like where the phone booth is and that like frozen lake. Working there for weeks on end, I'm sure was really harsh. But last thing I want to say, and Jim, you turned to me during the movie and said this as I was thinking about it. That lake looks just like the lake where Jim and I got engaged in Estes Park, Colorado.
That would explain for a couple of reasons why this movie was so special to y'all, because
Is that why you cried?
It has that tie. Look, from Jim's perspective, it has that tie to this very emotional moment, and also there might be kids at the bottom of the lake.
You're like,
win-win for Jim.
You're like, oh, that lake and all those bodies, it's special,
right? I pull out the ring, and he's like, wait, before you do it, I think there's more kids under that part of the lake. Can we just take 20 steps that way? Make it special. Anyway, super fun. But Game Freakness, we will get to the second part of your comment once we get into spoilers. Jim, real quick, of course, but any other non-spoiler thoughts you feel like we have to get out before we make that jump?
Yeah, I mean, while we're talking about the lake, I mean, it's obviously an homage of sorts to movies like, was it Friday the 13th? Or am I thinking of the right one? Camp Crystal Lake, right? There's obvious homages. This is just basically Crystal. This is Crystal Lake in the winter when the Christian schools take over and run their Alpine Christian camp, right, during the winter. Like, yeah, like what, who doesn't want to go to a fucking camp in the middle of, snowy, icy, cold winter? I don't know, whatever.
Listen, I've never been to like a winter camp.
No, I've never either, and it's not very common. But
yeah, but back home in Michigan, where I'm from, every year in high school, our class would always take this trip up to Echo Ridge, which was kind of up in the big hilly areas of Michigan. Really great skiing and snow tubing and stuff like that. And so we would spend a day and a night up there, and it was in a lodge. The boys had to be separated from the girls, but like there's these big fireplaces, and it was just so cozy. But like if you went outside, like it was fucking like Blizzard Town at night. And so I was like feeling that like cold and that like fear of like, I'm gonna die as a popsicle if I stray too far from the fire. So watching this movie kind of took me back to those times. So it got us ready for a snowy Christmas, maybe, Jim. Maybe.
I don't know, Brad. That sounds like hell. And as we know, hell isn't fire, it's ice.
It's
Yeah.
ice. That's right. It's in the trailer, so we can
Uh-huh.
say it. Cool. All right. Well, let's go ahead and make that jump over to spoilers then, because I do think we have a lot more to say that we're kind of tiptoeing around. If you've not yet seen The Black Phone 2, now's your chance. Relative to when we're recording on November 6th, 2025. The movie still is in theaters, so you can go do that. Once it's out on streaming, of course, you can watch it there. Just if you step away for the spoiler section, make a note for yourself. Set a reminder through your favorite virtual assistant to come back and finish this episode after you've seen the movie. And let us know what you thought. We'd love to hear that. In any event, spoilers for The Black Phone 2 are officially fair game. Now, we don't have to talk about the ending of the movie right away, but I do want to read the second part of Game Freakness's comment. And Game Freakness said, thought the phone booth was going to close at the end and drag one of the kids to the bottom of the lake. Would have been a cool twist ending. I that takes me to the phone booth and lake setting itself. We were just talking about that. I think that's kind of a cool place to start. So, Jim, when you were talking about Friday the 13th, I swear to God, I in my head I was like, oh yeah, Camp Crystal Light, but that's a lemonade and not a summer camp for kids. But how do y'all think that this setting with this lone phone booth in this super snowy like lodge winter camp thing worked as a horror setting for this?
Oh, I loved it. I loved the sense of isolation. Because even though it was kind of a winter camp setting, it was too wintry, and most of the kids, none of the kids and counselors could get there except for the few that are in this movie. So I think that set up a really tense and spooky atmosphere, right? Because they're in a blizzard, it's dark, it's basically abandoned for miles around, even more than like a defunct summer camp, I would say even. So I definitely liked that winter vibe.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, like historically, winter movies, with some pretty obvious exceptions for me, are sometimes hard to watch because films that are just nothing but like nonstop snowy backdrops can feel a little like I need some variety. I need something else. Here we had that sense of isolation, but there's also a sense of location, right? I understood where both of once we get past kind of like the setup stuff and we're kind of where the most of the film takes place, I knew where the boys camp was, I knew where the girls cabin was, I knew where the phone booth was, I knew where the lake was. I understood the geography, and it always felt interesting and exciting for me. So yeah, this setting really worked well. It also worked well because of one of the thematic elements that we've got here. One of the things about this film is really about people facing head on their issues as opposed to hiding behind things, whether it be hiding behind addiction, whether it be hiding behind, not sharing kind of what's going on with the people that most care about you, whether it be just uncovering the secrets of the past. And there's the line that most impacted me in this entire movie. It was actually in a commercial playing in the background. The Jeremy Davies, the father, he is a reformed alcoholic. And when they go off to this camp, they're like, hey, Dad, don't drink. You can't do this while we're gone. And there's a moment where one of his friends calls and you think, oh no,
Here it
he's
goes.
falling back on it. And there's a beer commercial playing and it says, head for the mountains. And that's when he realizes, like, all right, I need to go get a snowplow and go get my kids. That's what he took from the beer commercial, not hiding, but
instead of let's grab a six pack and yeah.
So head for the mountains was like, I don't know, the line that hit me the most in this movie, just because of like how it was contextualized for that particular character's arc. I thought it was really damn, cleverly done.
I want to say head for the mountains. Was that like a Coors ad thing? I don't remember exactly. I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, it's one of the beer. Yeah. I'm terrible at remembering them.
The other theme that I thought came across well in this movie was like the theme of a sibling bond, right? There was a bond between this brother and sister, just like in the first movie, right? That bond was there in the first movie as well, very strongly, and this one carried it through, and I really liked that. I liked that it worked both sides of the sibling bond for these two, and to the movie's credit, I think that worked really well. I liked also that. So, the spoilers for we're in spoilers, so I'm gonna add another spoiler for Black Phone. The end of Black Phone, the grabber supposedly is killed, right? I mean, we see that happen in the movie. This movie deals with his supernatural presence, right? I believe, where there isn't, they're dealing with a supernatural force, his spirit, whatever, comes to life to haunt these kids in his, after he's dead. So, but it also flashes back to when the grabber was grabbing and killing kids before the first Black Phone movie, I believe. When the original 3 kids were chased down and killed, I think that took place probably before the original Black Phone movie. I'm not sure, or leading into that.
Yes, because we're in spoilers. So that happened when the character's mother was the same age as the kids.
Yeah.
So this would have been, what, 15 to 20 years earlier?
Yeah. So the grabber, I assume the same person, was terrorizing kids back then in real life as well. So I like that so this franchise has 2 ways to go. Like, it could go back in time and explore, any of the killings and horrible stuff that happened while the grabber was alive, right, before the events of the first movie. And, as a supernatural presence, I assume that could go on and on and on. They could find ways to keep that going. So that's pretty cool.
You mentioned the Friday the 13th, Camp Crystal Lake, kind of from a setting perspective. I think from the threat of the grabber himself, I think they borrow a lot from like Freddy Krueger here, in that, he taunts and haunts the children that he murders from beyond after revenge was done to him for the shitty things that he did in life. I would watch more of those, because my favorite horror franchise, good, bad, and ugly, is Nightmare on Elm Street, right? And so here, like, this feels like a spiritual successor to it in some ways.
Sure.
Not a direct sequel, of course. It's its own thing, but just it scratches that same itch in a way that feels both familiar but also pretty new, and I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in fact, I feel like this is the perfect time to read my very short Letterboxd review of this movie. I don't know if either of you have read it, but I will read it now. This was captured moments after I saw the film a couple weeks ago. The Black Phone 2 was the fever dream mashup of Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and Disney's Frozen I didn't know I needed. So those Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street vibes were totally there for me too. It was like Freddy and Jason nutted all over this movie as much as possible. Like, that DNA was spread everywhere.
All the DNA was splattered everywhere. It was a giant horror. It was a giant, like, psychological bukkake party.
Oh my God. Boo cocky.
I think before we get too far down this particular rabbit hole, we should just choose to let it go.
So Jim, something you brought up earlier was that this movie, and Will, you went into it as well, but Jim, you called out that this one is now not just focused on Finney, right? We're focused on his sister Gwen as well, and she's kind of almost, I think, like overshadowing Finney as sort of like a main character here, and I think it's awesome because, and here's where sort of the Nightmare on Elm Street connection came in for me. Of course, Will, I'm thinking about 3 Dream Warriors, right? Like, she discovers after being terrorized this whole fucking movie, she's out in the fucking snow and the phone booth and all the things are happening, and she's like, oh right, I'm fucking dreaming. I have power here too. And then she's all like, let it go. And then like into the unknown. And then like, show yourself. And she like shatters the phone booth and sends him flying. And then she does that like sachet walk across the ice while she's like flinging him around. And that was really fucking cool for me. It wasn't, Dream Warriors and like suddenly she's in like a wizard outfit or something. But it was neat to see someone metaphorically, and in this case, I guess literally, like realize their power, seize that power, and use that power like a blunt instrument at first while she kind of figured it out, and then like a fucking scalpel. It was delicious. It was wonderful. I loved it so much.
There's another element of this that I enjoy too, and that's one of the staples of supernatural slasher films, which this definitely is part of the supernatural side of things now. And I would argue that there's at least some slasher DNA kind of from the first Black Phone and kind of the Freddy Krueger element of this. But one of the staples of those is the adults in the world are all blissfully unaware and ignorant of kind of what's going on, leaving the kids to have to deal with everything completely by themselves. And what I appreciated here is that while the kids still got to do the bulk of the heavy lifting, once like very obvious things started happening, we didn't have to deal with the adults just being increasingly oblivious to those items as well. They're just like, oh yeah, okay, some weird shit is happening, and the adults got involved there at the end for the climax too. I thought that worked really, really well. It saved us all of the time that we would normally spend with them trying to argue with the dad about this and trying to argue with the counselor about that. Like once supernatural shit starts happening, the characters are like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, this is, I saw her getting like levitated across the room. So that wasn't just the wind. There's something going on here.
Yeah. It just occurred to me like, this the reason why these like supernatural horror and horror movies work so well with kid protagonists is that, and the adults are often like pushed to the background as like, you're right, like they can't see what's happening. And that's because, as we grow up, a lot of things to us as kids are terrifying, right? We have nightmares that, haunt us and scare us at night and stuff like that. And then as we grow older through our late teens and stuff, we start to lose that, and we enter adulthood, and those things don't terrorize us and scare us anymore. So it's really in the realm of childhood where, a lot of these horrors exist. So I think when you see these child protagonists in these movies, you can empathize with them a little bit more if you remember, what it was like in childhood to be like really terrified of things.
Oh yeah, that's why the majority of horror films feature either high school kids or college students, because it's not only that that childhood fear thing, but it's also right on the cusp of loss of innocence, and that whether it be loss of innocence through tee-hee, we're gonna go have sex in the woods and hopefully we don't get murdered, or the loss of innocence that comes with those fears coming after you head on. Either way, what I'm excited about with this, if they do another one, at this point, Finn and Gwen are sort of like, they're in high school. So if they do another one of these, I imagine it'll be more like them post high school and kind of what's going on here. I would be interested in seeing that quite a bit. I trust this writer-director team. I trust this cast. I trust the direction of this franchise to sort of take these kids out of childhood and see what happens when they have to face these fears as adults.
Mm-hmm. Or, they're like I said, the grabber obviously had a history before Finney, right? Mm-hmm. So there's probably many stories to be written from that era that we don't even know yet.
There are, but I think we run into that territory we do with so many prequels, and so many don't do it well. Is like the grabber is going to make it through whatever's happening in that prequel movie, right? Like he's going to live, he's going to do it again. So like, how do you land that prequel movie in a way that's satisfying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wraps things up and you feel good about it, but still allows that character to continue in the future.
I think the way that you do it is exactly the way they did it here. They moved the Finn and Gwyn story forward while looking back at the Grabber's first 3 kills. So technically, if there were other ones that happened in between, some of those other kids' souls may also be trapped, and maybe the next thing that Finn and Gwyn do, instead of like waiting for the phone call to come, is maybe start to be more proactive in looking at kind of stuff, and then that reawakens the Grabber. There's ways that they can do that, but that's how if I wanted to look back at the Grabber story, I would move Finn and Gwyn's story forward while looking back at the Grabber stuff.
Yeah, it's not going to be that. I mean, the next movie's not going to be as good because Finny and Gwen are just going to start a podcast. They're going to start a true crime podcast, and that's going to be it. Yeah, that's going to be the whole movie.
I think that it could be interesting, to see them as fully fleshed out adults. Certainly, college age, or it could be like we see them now as like older adults with like kids of their own, and maybe the abilities have been passed on, right? Black Phone 3, the next generation, but
I'd be down for that, because there is room for that in the timeline. I mean, this is set in the past, so you can set some. Yeah, so the great thing about them is, so Joe Hill is a horror writer. Cargill is a horror writer. I've read both of their books of horror short stories, and one of the things that I appreciate about both of their writing styles and why I trust them to keep doing stuff like this is they're horror writers that just write a horror story straightforward. Like, this is scary shit that's happening, and here's why it's terrifying, and then either the person dies or the person doesn't at the end of the story. But there is a little bit more sort of like hope and optimism kind of woven into these stories, sort of like fantasy, and not just like in the supernatural elements, but just in sort of like, like the way the characters like, develop here some psychic powers, which is not too far off from like, Stephen King, like The Shining, which isn't just the name of one of his stories, but it's also the power that characters in multiple of his stories across his body of work have, that they're psychic powers. So I trust them, whichever direction they want to take it. I would trust them to do it in a pretty interesting way. Will I eat those words in the future? I hope not. But clip this now if you want to come back after. If Black Phone 3 isn't very good, clip this and rub it in my face later. But right now, I'm pretty optimistic.
We'll be in line for it no matter what.
Yeah.
Oh, it. Definitely. Well, this was a film we all, I think, pretty universally fucking loved. Some really great discussion around this one. We have another comment in the chat. Oh, a couple of them actually, but let's do the last one and then we'll close out here. Game Freakness says, I also thought since the heaters in the cabin were open and you can see them, that they would wake her up by having her touch them, and the pain would wake her up, but they didn't do that. Yeah, I was thinking about that too, and I'm like, are they going to hammer the Nightmare on the Elm Street thing over like too hard? And I ended up being, I don't know, kind of glad that they didn't go that route a little bit, but.
That was a reader misdirect for me too. I remember they had some interesting shots of those heaters, and I kept thinking like, okay, who's going to burn themselves on these?
They probably weren't exactly like that in Nightmare on Elm Street, but it was very Nightmare on Elm Street. Those heaters being featured like that, like, and the only thing I'm thinking in the back of my mind is those fucking things are not OSHA approved. I can tell you right now. I don't know who installed those at the camp, but they're either going to burn the fucking place down or electrocute somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and just like I say this as someone who's didn't have going to winter camp as a specific form of, it may have been fun for you, Brad. I don't know. But to me, that sounds like a nightmare. Personally. But fair. The idea of just, wow, there are multiple spots that I could severely burn myself, just like inches above where my pillow is, is another level of terror that I personally have there.
Super fair. Super fair. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap the Black Phone up to, I hate to say we're going to hang up on it, but we do need to do that. Actually, real quick before we do, I had one more thing. I'm so sorry. I just remembered. Gwen getting to talk to her mom on the phone and give Finney a message from her.
That was the emotional part.
Yeah.
That was the emotional. I'm like full on sobbing, and like Kevin's on one side of me and Jim's on the other side of me, and they're both being supportive and amazing and awesome.
I knew it would hit you. I knew how it would hit you. You know?
But
we all wish we had that
yeah
talk with our moms, you know.
But what was so cool about it this time, I think in the past it would have been like really sad tears. But I've done a lot in the last like year and a half to like work through a lot of grief with my mom's passing. And this time it was like happy tears. It was like I was so happy for Gwen and Finney that happened. It wasn't like you know, I'm so sad it didn't happen to me, but it made me remember joyous things. And I think that's a good sign of, you know, grief processing, whatever you want to call it. So either way, Black Phone 2, thanks for giving me some big old tears. I appreciate you. All right. Well, speaking of child violence, how do y'all feel about talking about the new It TV show?
Oh, if you loved the last one, you're gonna love this talk.
Oh, indeed. Indeed. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and move on over to our next discussion. It's about a TV show, y'all. It, Welcome to Derry, premiered a couple weeks ago. We're going to do the full-on introduction and all that good stuff. But I'm just going to give you our spoiler plate warning one more time, just in case anybody's bouncing around, you know, using the time index through our digital recording, magical digital tape delay that we love to reference. Or, you know, if for whatever reason you decide to skip Black Phone 2 and jump right to Welcome to Derry, that's your prerogative. Don't know that I agree with it, but you get to make that decision. In any event, we are going to talk about It, Welcome to Derry, spoiler free, for probably 5 minutes or so, and then we'll give you that warning before we open things up to spoilers. So just be advised. All that said, here we go. Our discussion of It, Welcome to Derry. All right. So, well, if you don't mind, I know we're going to talk about this one with spoilers, pretty general flowy, but let's give the spoiler-free kind of setup of this so we can give some real quick, just, you know, initial thoughts, impressions if we want to jump in. What is this show? Is it a sequel to the It movies? Is it a prequel? Is it parallel? For people who aren't super familiar, how would you line this one down?
So It, Welcome to Derry is a television series with kind of the main, or one of the main kind of directors and producers on it being Andy Muschietti, who directed the, 2017, 2019 It and It 2 films that came out, which are, of course, adaptations of the Stephen King book, which are set in the broader Stephen King universe. This particular story is set, and there's some minor spoilers here for It, but just we have to talk about those. In It, we find out that there's this entity from beyond the stars that now lives underneath the city of Derry, which is where it has every 27 years, it wakes up to feast, particularly enjoying children, but in doing so, causing hatred, fear, distrust, just a lot of negative things to happen in the city along the way. It feeds on the fear as much as it feeds on the children. And this particular story is set 27 years prior, so the previous awakening and feeding cycle from the Losers Club that we learned about and loved from the two It movies. So I think we'll go into more in the spoiler section here, but is this a prequel? Is this a sequel? It's both and neither, you know, because it is built upon the foundation that is created in the in the It stories. It references very heavily some very specific incidents that they talked about in the movie, that they talked about in the books, and it even references other works from Stephen King, which is pretty cool. So that's what you need to know going into this. It does help to have watched the two Stephen King, the two It movies, because they do like there are a lot of references that you can enjoy this without them, but I think they do help quite a bit.
Awesome. Well, really good setup and explanation of what this show is all about. If you've not yet seen the first couple episodes of It, welcome to Derry. We're going to just launch into some spoiler talk here in just a couple moments, so just be aware of that taking place. I'm just going to ramble a little bit more, give you another few moments. This is on HBO Max, by the way, so feel free to pull that up, check that out. They released the second episode early for Halloween, which was kind of a cool treat. Thank you, HBO Max. Definitely a fun way to enjoy the holiday. But that said, spoilers for It, Welcome to Derry are officially happening. Here we go. And we're just going to open the floor up, general discussion wise. Will, thank you again for setting this up. What do y'all think about this show? Does it stand on its own? Is it engaging for you? Is it a retread? What do y'all feel?
Although I'm enjoying it quite a bit, and I think part of what makes it feel like it's not a retread for me is that the first episode, actually neither of the episodes, that the 1 and 2, pull punches. The very first episode starts with, Jim, you'll love this, the death of a kid who we follow through in a very gruesome and over the top and
lots to love in this. Lots
way.
To love in the first 2 episodes.
But even then, the first episode really sets up sort of our core cast of kids, and as you start sort of like drawing parallels, you start thinking, okay, this is the Losers Club Part 2. You can kind of see they even have like one of the kids is named Teddy Uris, which is the same last name as Stan Uris, who is one of the so he's like probably like the uncle or something like that of that. They kill off a couple of the kids who are like some of the main characters at the end of the first episode, making me feel like, okay, I don't really feel that anyone is very truly safe, except for the only character I think is like 100% safe at this point is we do get a reference to Dick Halloran, who is shows up as the groundkeeper in The Shining. So we know that character is going to make it at least through here. But the kids, I don't know. There's a lot of other kind of fun references here, but really for me, it was cool getting that rug pull. In fact, to the first episode really focused on 3 of the kids as POV characters. And by the end of the first episode, one of them is dead. And the other one is potentially dead, or maybe just kidnapped by, the entity. We don't know. But they really, and we kind of shift to sort of like a new cast of kids, sort of like becoming more centralized in the second one. So I'm enjoying this quite a bit. I don't know where this ride is going to take me. And as someone who knows a lot of the Stephen King stuff and kind of, I know what story they're setting up here because they talk about what happened 27 years prior in the other ones. I went into this expecting to know what I was facing, and I don't. And that's cool.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot too. I didn't think I would, because I'm not really that big a fan of like all the other It stuff that came before. I'm aware of most of it, but I can't say I'm an expert because I've seen it all. But in watching this show, what's hit me in the first 2 episodes, first of all, I think the production value is top notch. I think there's something about the look and feel of this show. Now, granted, it is a period piece, right? Which I love a well done period piece, especially in the period where I grew up as a kid, right? So, and I think they've captured it really well. You know, that early 60s vibe. The needle drops are there, right? To put you in that time. And, the art direction is great. And kind of the patina that's over that is kind of, probably put in post-production that makes it look, I don't know, it just makes it look vintage in a way. The colors really pop, like Technicolor colors, and also the just the way the actors are filmed. It's weird. I kept looking at the screen like, is something going to happen here? Like, is their face going to deform? Or it feels like it's right on the edge of falling into like terror, right, all the time. And I like that about this. Now, granted, I don't know where this story's going yet. I don't want to get into spoilers yet because we haven't got there yet. I'm still.
I thought we aren't.
Are we
spoilers?
Spoilers?
No,
right?
we are. Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, we dove right
I
into
don't know where the
spoilers,
story's going yet. There's some secret weapon that's buried in the ground that like works on fear, and I don't know if that probably ties to the book maybe or something. I don't know. Like,
no,
the military is after it.
That one I think we have enough information from. I'm trying not to give away kind of like what I'm thinking is going to happen later on. But this one I think we have enough info on. The weapon that is underneath and feeds on fear, it's the entity. It's Pennywise. It's whatever that thing is. They basically are using Dick Halloran's Shining to find it, and that's why the main the other kind of the adult lead in this, which is Leroy Hanlon with the military, the pilot. His amygdala issue where he has like no fear is going to be important here because, since Pennywise or the entity, whatever you want to call it, feeds off of fear, he's going to be the one person that in theory should be able to get closer enough to it because he doesn't experience fear. Him and Daredevil. If Daredevil, the man without fear, shows up, that Pennywise would be fucked.
But how is it initially seen as a military weapon? That's what I don't understand. So
a common theme across sort of Stephen King's works, and this isn't like necessarily like a reference to a thing in another book necessarily, but like a lot of times when there's a supernatural thing, one of Stephen King's elements is if the military finds this, they're going to find a way to use this. We also saw that very prominently in Dreamcatcher with the Bob Gray, which is the alien that also lives off of fear, which may or may not be also Pennywise. But I think the big thing there is like, there's a parallel too, because if you think about some of the stuff we're seeing in the background, right? This is during the Red Scare, duck and cover. So there's also a parallel between sort of like nuclear fear, what are we going to use to weaponize against the others? What's going to be weaponized against us and paralleled to, this thing. So that's basically the idea is don't trust people in power to not abuse terrible things and potentially weaponize them.
Sure. I think I'm just saying that early on in the series, since we're only 2 in, it seems like there are different disparate stories going on with maybe minimal linkages, but not really enough to make it coalesce for me yet. So, I'm sure it'll get there. I'm sure it'll get there one way, but the ride to get there has been pretty good so far. Really good.
I think the link is going to be the kids, right? Because we have the son, Will Hanlon, who, interestingly enough, we've actually seen Leroy Hanlon before. So in the It movies, one of the 7 kind of main kids is Mike Hanlon, and he's at his at the steel yard or wherever, and his grandfather's basically yelling to him about something about his father. That would be Leroy Hanlon. So we've seen him in that. But we know now that Leroy's son, Will, has now started talking to Ronnie, who is tied to kind of the other side of the story. Ronnie is the girl who was the projectionist at the movie theater. So we know that link between those 2 kids, I think, is going to pull those 2 stories together.
Yeah, I was thinking a little bit in our discussion about whether Black Phone should have standalone prequels about this show. Because I'm enjoying it. I like the periodness of it. I like that it subverted expectations and killed off what seemed to be the main kids at the beginning. That was freaking awesome. But I'm like, where ultimately is this going to go? Because we know that Pennywise is still a thing. Later on down the road, there's still another group of kids, and they have their stories. So how does this wrap in a way that's satisfying? I think that, like, and I don't know how much to talk about the movies for, like, people who are watching the show for the first time, as their introduction. But I think, like, there's some lore that comes out that's like, this is like a cyclical thing, right, that happens. So I'm guessing we'll see the end of this cycle, right? Not necessarily the end of the whole shebang. But my question is that going to feel satisfying? Like, if Pennywise goes away for a couple decades, are we going to feel like, oh, fuck yeah, like, this series wrapped up really well?
Because he's back, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we reset the clock 20 years.
Yeah.
That said, I'm totally digging it for what it is. Jim, you hit the fucking jackpot with all the dramatic smoking in the first 2 episodes of this show. Jim loves his dramatic smoking in movies and stuff. So plus we've gotten some some pretty gory stuff. Will, I don't know if are you watching any of the behind the scenes featurette things?
I'm not.
Okay.
I've only all I've watched are just the 2 core episodes.
Is it okay to talk about, like, the filming of a scene from
absolutely. Yeah.
So in the behind the scenes featurette for the first episode, they show how they filmed the baby, like, coming out of the projector screen and flying around and killing the kids, and
that was a fucking amazing. That was an amazing scene for a TV show. I thought it was was really awesome.
Yeah, it fucking went hard, and in all the best ways. But it was so funny because, like, they're showing, like, a big like costume baby head at the end of, like, a 20-foot pole, and they're just, like, moving it around, like, up in the air, and the actors are, like, reacting to it and screaming. It's probably the most unintentionally funny thing I've seen in a really long time. It was good.
That's amazing. That is so good.
So they used some practical stuff to make it happen, and to at least interact with the actors, which was cool.
Yeah, like, that stuff is so important. Like, it's always fun to watch those behind the scenes things for that reason. My favorite thing is always, and now I gotta watch this, is going to be tennis balls on sticks, because it's how they do eye lines. It's how they make sure people are looking where they're supposed to, when they eventually, because they've already prevised it, so they know that at some point, around here is where the baby's head is going to be, or around here is where it's going to fly in. And so then just the guy kind of running by with stick with the tennis ball, or in this case, the baby head. That's always so entertaining to me.
Yeah.
And to the point about kind of like the cyclical nature of it, one of the things that I've read about this series is that they're actually looking at sort of each season sort of going back, kind of going another 27 years back, which makes sense, because if you look at the opening credits, a lot of the scenes that you see kind of in that, and we only get the opening credits in episode 2, so we've only seen it once, but that animated opening is showing different major scenes from Derry's history. And so we'll get to explore some of those, and we're even getting to explore some of those in real time with the gunfighter guys who were in that car that they fished up at the end of the episode 2, which was, I think, whatever instance of this happened in sort of like Prohibition era.
Wait, I think, okay, I'm not sure. Was it not the family from the car in the first movie that picked up the kid?
It may be. I thought it was the kind of the gun runners, the Prohibition guys' car that we got to see, sort of like that they talked about in the movies, and that we that we see there's like a shootout scene in the opening scene with, like, and in the history of Derry, kind of what happened was, like, there's a bunch of these gun runners, and basically everyone in the town just basically got their guns and mowed these people down, kind of, and it was like Pennywise's influence to make them sort of
This
go
was in the
mob.
this was in the first
okay.
episode.
So they talk about it in sort of like the history of Derry and like the It movies, you know, as they're kind of talking about sort of like, oh, in 27 years fire was
For
this,
such a
27 years
dramatic
that.
moment, you think they would have had something more about it, like, you know, to link it to the actual show. Like,
Well,
I don't know.
I think
It
right
would-
now what they're doing a lot of is sort of like planting their seeds, right? Because
Okay.
I think what this series is really going for is, and I think this is smart if they nail this, making this, obviously we have to follow our protagonists, right? But the story of, you know, the classic It, you know, like the 80s, the Losers Club, was about the 7 kids, and then eventually like what they're like as adults and how they had to come together multiple times to stop this threat. So it was more about them in this city that was tainted by fear and evil against this alien. Here, I think the city, its history, and the impact of it are going to be more the main characters in a lot of way. You know, like the protagonists are going to be important for that, but I think they're broadening the scope, so it's not just, again, Losers Club Part 2.
Yeah, I will say when we watched the second episode, we were, of course, Brad mentioned it's been super hectic and crazy, so we're all like, okay, start it. We got to watch this before the show.
Yeah,
and we started, and like the credits are rolling. I'm like, oh, and I'm like half paying attention, and oh my god, these opening credits are fucking pretty awesome. And there's a lot of shit. There's a lot of storytelling going on, I think, in the credits.
yes.
As well as being like visually great. And so I'm gonna have to like maybe go back and rewatch that and see if I can tie some of that stuff to what the little bit of knowledge that I have about like the movies and stuff.
Yeah, I was just reading that the car, and I think maybe we didn't notice it because we were literally that's why we were late. We were trying to finish it. And we're like ready to spring off the couch as soon as it ended. And Jim, I think we missed all the bullet holes in the car. We didn't see those because I was just reading something that was calling those out.
And if it helps, so when I was watching this earlier today, and I'm on a lot of medicine right now for for all of the treatments I'm going through right now. I got to about 10 minutes before the end of the episode, and I started to doze a little bit, and I woke up right as the car was being fished out. And then I was like, well, shit, I missed something. So I rewound to the 10 minutes. And so I got to see the car getting fished out twice. So I gotta, well, I didn't get to watch the full episode twice, but I got to see that scene twice. So that's part of
cool.
Why it's,
well, thanks for helping us connect some dots. Appreciate that.
Here, what I like is, and they've done this throughout the movies too, is that a scene will start pretty innocently, like with the kids, and then all of a sudden
Am I still here?
Yeah, you're still here. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was me because you were very still for a second there, Brad. So I'm like, oh no, it's me. But then you turned your head.
Okay, I got a message in our platform that said your connection has been lost, and I was like, oh shit, still see them moving and talking, but
I'm back.
Hey babe, welcome back.
I'm back. That was weird.
Yeah, no worries. Jim, did you want to back up to the beginning of what you were saying there?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, there are scenes in this so far in this series where, and they did this in the movies, I'm sure also, where the scene will start off innocently enough, like a normal, like Maddie getting into the car, right, with the family outside the theater after he escapes from the theater manager or whatever, running him out, right? He gets into the car with his family, seems pretty normal, and then weird shit starts happening, right? Like, little stuff like the liver and them them chanting stuff or repeating lines, and it gets creepier and creepier as the scene goes on, and then it gets really wild, right, with the birth of the flying, no-eyed, one-winged baby that like just comes out of the woman's birth canal and like goes crazy in the car and goes after Maddie, right, for some reason, and presumably kills Maddie, right?
Yeah.
What's the matter? What are we laughing at?
Sorry. The way you were, I'm not laughing at the way you said it. I'm laughing at what it sparked for me. You're like the one-eyed, one-winged flying. And I was like, one-eyed, one-winged flying little kid eater.
Little children eater. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
And that was really cool. But then I like the way the scenes can start innocently and then and this happens in horror movies a lot, and then just like slowly devolves into sheer terror, like the scene with who's the character, the young projectionist,
Ronnie
girl. Yeah, Ronnie, where she goes to bed and all of a sudden things starts happening under the sheets, right, and she's like inside, and then she gets shot out of what's supposedly like her mother, and her mother says, "Oh, you tore me up and you killed me," and blah blah blah. But she does not get killed. So I don't know what the rules are in this world when Pennywise is influencing terror over these kids, which ones he gets to kill and which ones he does not.
So we saw some of that in the It movies, and a lot of it is basically like, because he uses your fears against you, right? You know, against the kid at the very beginning. Obviously, he was had some sort of like abuse from his father. There were some references to that. He had a pacifier as a kind of a later age kid, which is usually, unfortunately, like a regression like that is usually something that happens when someone's experienced a lot of abuse at home, and uses sort of like the infantilized monster and also kind of the idea of a loving, supportive family as his fear. Here, Ronnie's fear came from
her mother. Did her mother die in childbirth?
Her mother died in childbirth, and she feels responsible for it, and she feels responsible for getting them other kids killed. But I think the biggest difference is really like sometimes it's how you face your fears, and and Pennywise doesn't eat all of his meals right away. Sometimes he kind of strings out a meal over a couple of sessions. Like think about like Lily with kind of like hearing the voices coming up from the drain, right. He's starting to like frighten the kids because that's what he wants to eat. He'll eventually eat the kids. I do think Maddie, the kid at the beginning, and the Phil's little sister, who I forget.
Oh, Susie.
Susie. Yeah.
Susie.
Yeah.
So I think they're dead. But I don't know if Phil is. And this is what I love about this show. There's a spot where when right before the pickle monster attacks in episode 2, where Lily there's like all of those cereal boxes of the missing kids. And you see Maddie's and his face turns all dead, and Susie's and her face turns all dead, and Teddy and his face turns all dead. And Phil is there too, and his face doesn't turn all dead. And so I kept going like, are they trying to tell us that maybe since we didn't see the kill and since his face isn't there, are they trying to tell us maybe Pennywise has him down there? Like, he's done before in the past. I don't know. Right. I don't know yet. And I'm excited to find out what that means. They're dropping these little things that make this feel like a very intentional story and giving me enough threads to kind of pull on without making things like too obvious. That's cool.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like if some characters might have, like Lily or Ronnie, have more plot armor than poor Maddie did.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm interested to see where this show goes. Jim, Will, are you going to be watching more of the series?
Oh yeah, definitely. This has
Yeah.
been a pretty good ride so far. And how can you not watch something with James Remar in it?
Oh, I know, right? Every time he talks, I'm like, "Where's Dexter?"
Yeah, in case it wasn't very obvious from kind of the way I was talking about this one. Yeah, I'm hard in on this one. Like this is, it's giving me, honestly, it's giving me a similar vibe of what I experienced when the Watchmen television show came out.
Okay.
Which that was another one where it had no right to be as good as it was or to explore as much as it did, and I found myself just like waiting impatiently for each episode. So and that's where I'm at with this one. Like
Yeah.
I can't wait to see more.
Me too.
Rock
Me
on.
too. When's the next
All
episode
right.
out?
Yeah, when does this air? What night does this come on? We watched it after they aired.
Yeah,
so we
the
binged it when we
next
got back.
episode comes on Sunday. I
Sunday.
think they're all
Sunday,
it's
Sunday.
hard. It's hard to tell. I think they're Sunday releases, but again, they did the
release,
the early release.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Awesome, Will. Thank you.
Well, then we have time to catch up with last week's British Baking, babe. Before
That's true.
we have a new episode of this to watch.
Yeah, we'll be lucky if we don't fall behind on a lot of stuff.
Oh,
the next
man.
couple weeks.
Yeah.
Is one of your fears soggy bottoms?
Well, I mean, for me, when a bottom is soggy, it means I've done a good job.
Pennywise visits me. It's going to be about getting falling into a moving box or some shit.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. Oof. We have like 2 weeks. Be in Austin in 2 weeks. It's fucking crazy. But
that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome and crazy.
I get to experience it from the other side where, like, I'll probably be around to help you unpack some things, but I don't have to deal with the getting things into boxes, so I just get to enjoy the, yay, they're here now part of it.
Well, it's so sweet that you're looking forward to us moving, into your realm, if you will. We're really excited to be able to spend a lot of time with you guys, and your dogs are fucking amazing. They're turning me into a dog person, which I didn't think was possible.
Our cats and your dogs will be neighbors. So
they will.
That's pretty awesome.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this one up by letting folks know where they can connect with us between now and our next recording. And spoiler alert, we'll talk a little bit about what that might look like with you. We'll figure out our schedule, give it everything. But Jim, where can folks connect with you between now and then?
Oh, you can find me on Letterboxd. We like to talk about Letterboxd. We like to use Letterboxd to log and rate and rank and review pretty much every movie we see as we see it. So check it out. Check us out on Letterboxd. My name on there is at JJP Out West. That's where you can find me there. Or you please shout out to me on Facebook under my name, Jim Pugliafico. I don't post a lot, but I'm there, and I'll read your messages.
All right, thanks, babe. Appreciate you. Will, how about for you?
So find me on Facebook, William Lindis, and then find me on Letterboxd at The Movie Bear. As we've talked about here, damn near every episode, at least every episode for the last year and a half now. This is a place where all three of us enjoy spending our time on Letterboxd, like putting up film reviews, putting up little lists and rankings and star ratings and things like that. So if you're a fan of film, if you're a fan of lists, and if you're just a fan of wanting to, kind of get the skinny on like what to watch outside of this episode, find us on Letterboxd. It's well worth the time.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Will. Folks, you can find me on Facebook. Just look for Bradley Harris. I realize most people access the audio version of the show. You may not even know what I look like, but I bet if you search for Bradley Harris, you'll be able to tell instantly, because I'm bearded. I have glasses. Wait, no, I'm using my flannel picture now. I'm not wearing glasses. I look like a a flannel mountain daddy. So there you go. Find me on Facebook. You can also find me on Letterboxd at iBradPro. I do rate every film I see. I don't always write a review, but when I do, I try to have a little fun with it. So hopefully you enjoy those. I've had a bunch of people add me lately. I'm like, oh wow, I'm part of the Letterboxd community now. Do we get t-shirts? The answer, no, unless you buy them. And Will, we got to see your awesome Letterboxd t-shirt while we were there, which was super cool.
Oh yeah.
I still think Letterboxd needs to bring you on as like a brand ambassador or something. Like you bring so many people to that platform. I think it's almost evangelical, but like in a good way.
Would it be pretentious if I got the letterboxed orange, green, blue circles as a tattoo?
Ooh. I don't
I
think
know.
that'd be pretentious.
Yeah.
I think that'd be fucking cool. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
it's an idea. It's an idea.
That's a thought. That's a thought. All right. We're gonna have to come with you when you get the tattoo and live stream the experience as we review a fucking movie.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah!
Oh my God.
I do a record while getting tattooed. Heck yeah.
I've been thinking about getting my second tattoo. I need one on this forearm to balance out the other one, which I'm realizing
Yes, you do.
my filter is removing. That's so funny. There we
Oh
go.
my God, mine is too. I have a tattoo. Like this is my tattoo right here. Wait, no, it's my flex.
No,
it's my
it's
flexibility that's hiding it.
Yeah, that's what it is. Me too. All right. Thanks everyone so much for tuning in. Great to see y'all. We'll definitely catch up with you next time. Bye everybody. Take care.
Bye.